But what if Joe Flacco starts? What is the offense going to look like without Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor? Right? Because so far through the first, 4 games, the identity of this Colts offense has been we're going to run the football effectively, which they've done with both Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. We're going to run the football effectively, right? We're going to make you bring guys down into the box because we're going to run the ball. And as soon as you do, we're going to send, Alec Pierce deep, and we're going to take the top off of your defense. Like that has been the identity for this Colts offense to start the year. And with no Jonathan Taylor to kind of create the threat of the run game, and with no Anthony Richardson, a guy who has done a good job, completing deep balls this year, like without either one of those guys, what does this offense begin to look like? Right? Like, what is this offense with Joe Flacco and Trey Sermon starting at quarterback and running back? Like, what does this offense look like? I'm incredibly interested to see what Shane Steichen decides to do, because if that's the starting, backfield, Joe Flacco and Trey Sermon, then this is an opportunity for Shane Steichen to make me look great, honestly. Right? From the takes that I've given standpoint, I kind of hope it's Joe Flacco and Trey Sermon, because if the Colts win this game with Joe Flacco and Trey Sermon starting, then it's going to be because of Shane Steichen. It's going to be because Shane Steichen put together some sort of outstanding game plan for Joe Flacco and Trey Sermon and for this Colts offense to be successful. Okay? Like if they win on Sunday with no Anthony Richardson, no Jonathan Taylor, the two guys that the identity of the offense has been built around, if they win without them, then it's going to be because of Steichen. And he's completely and totally capable of winning games without those two guys, right? We saw him go 9-8 last year with Gardner Minshew and Zach Moss as his starting backfield for most of the year, right? And if he can go 9-8 with those two guys, then he can win a game against an 0-4 Jacksonville Jaguars team with Joe Flacco and Trey Sermon. Okay, the Jacksonville stuff is really interesting. Look, it's no secret. Like I took the Jacksonville Jaguars to win the AFC South before the year started. I'm still holding out some hope, just a little bit, not a lot, but we'll see. Some alarming quotes from Doug Peterson today. He was asked if he had lost the locker room, and his response was, "No, I have not lost the locker room." Sounds like something that a guy would say that's lost his locker room. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how motivated that Jacksonville Jaguars team is coming into this game, right? Because look, starting 0-4, it's tough. Like that's just not a fun place to be. I'll never forget my freshman year of college. We're playing, and we started 0-9 in conference. We got swept the first 3 series that we played, and I just, oh man, I remember Coach Hooten. He's just an incredible person and incredible baseball coach. Just the best. Love Coach Hooten. And I'll never forget. We come out to practice after getting swept again on that Monday, and we're all just kind of waiting for him to just lay into us, rip us, drop F-bombs. And it was always terrible because he always had a big old dip in his mouth. And whenever he'd yell, he spat it out everywhere. I'll never forget one of my buddies, Daniel Colasanto. He was like trying to fire us all up. Coach Hooten comes crashing in and he starts yelling. And basically we walk out and my friend Daniel has got dip spit just all over his face from Coach Hooten, right? So whenever he got upset, you didn't want to be anywhere near him. And we came out on that Monday, and Coach Hooten was just incredibly relaxed. Incredibly relaxed. He was like, look, we're 0-9, right? We've got, however many series left. He's like, let's just go win all of them, and we'll be fine. And that's exactly what we did. Okay, so sometimes teams respond incredibly well to being 0, to starting terribly. Other times, teams respond not so greatly, right? And it tanks their entire season. And, that's going to play a large role in what happens on Sunday. Like how does this Jacksonville Jaguars team behave after starting 0-4? Like, do they have the competitive spirit? Do they have the willingness to try and fight back from this? Or are they going to roll over? We'll see. right? But either way, whether they roll over or not, like the Colts still have to go out and execute if they want to win the football game. And when I say execute, I mean just don't turn the ball over. That's the most important thing for Joe Flacco on Sunday. When quarterbacks, go over the age of 35 and they reach this like mentor, smart quarterback status like Joe Flacco has, I think people just assume that they don't turn the football over anymore. And that's just not the case. When we think about Joe Flacco, I think that there's two things that stick out. We think about the outstanding playoff run that he had in 2013, which was completely and totally uncharacteristic of him. He and he wins Super Bowl MVP that year, right? That's a Super Bowl where the lights go out, John Harbaugh versus Jim Harbaugh. Geez, 11 years ago that happened. I think people think about that. And then, of course, there's recent history. And we think about what he did with the Browns last year. And the one thing that he has in common with those old Ravens teams that he won a bunch of games with and this Cleveland Browns team that he won games with last year is, first of all, he turned the football over all the time. Okay. Last year in the 6 games that he started, he threw 10 interceptions. That's not great. The other thing that I would point to as to why he had success in Baltimore in his career and in Cleveland is that both of those teams had arguably the best defenses in the NFL when he was there. Okay. So it didn't matter as much how many times he turned the football over, right? Because that Cleveland Browns defense last year was nothing short of nasty and amazing. Arguably the best defense in the league last year, right? When he was in Baltimore, he's playing with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Terrell Suggs and just this nasty downhill physical defense, right? So if he gave the ball away, it didn't matter as much. Meanwhile, now he's here. He's in Indianapolis. And while I have been nice, I would say, to this Colts defense, right? A defense that has held their own. They are not the Cleveland Browns of last year, and they are not the 2010s Baltimore Ravens on defense. Like, that's not who this Colts team is. So the most important thing for Joe Flacco is to avoid turnovers. That is the most important thing. Okay, like if he throws 2 interceptions on Sunday, the Colts probably aren't going to win that game. Okay, he has to avoid turning the football over. That is the death sentence for the Colts on Sunday. If it's Flacco and Trey Sermon, then they have to avoid the turnovers because, look, Joe Flacco, he's a fine backup. Okay, that's what he is. He's a good, solid backup quarterback. He doesn't bring the explosiveness to this offense to overcome turning the football over, right? Whereas, like, with Anthony Richardson, if he played on Sunday and he, he threw 1 or 2 interceptions, he still has the explosiveness both in the passing game and in the running game to get the Colts back into games quickly because you can score quickly with him as your quarterback. Joe Flacco, he didn't have that. So he can't turn the football over. Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson, those guys have to hold on to the ball. Okay, because this Jacksonville Jaguars offense isn't very good. It's just not. And like if you make them work the ball down the length of the field, you're going to have good results for your defense, okay? They're 29th, the Jacksonville Jaguars are, in points per game, only averaging 15 points a game. That's awful. Okay, they're 30th in third down conversion percentage at only 25%. Like, they haven't consistently moved the ball down the field this year. And the best way for the Colts to win this game is to do something that I hate and just be boring, especially if Joe Flacco's the starting quarterback. Don't turn the ball over. Trust your defense, or more matter-of-factly, trust the fact that this Jaguars offense isn't very good, right? And win this game, 20-10. Seriously, like that is what the Colts are going to have to do on Sunday. And the only way for that to happen is if Joe Flacco, if he's a starting quarterback on Sunday, once again, is if he does his best Chick-fil-A impression. Okay, Chick-fil-A is the most consistent fast food restaurant in the country. Okay, whether you go to the Chick-fil-A in Greenwood, which is awesome, by the way, or if you go to the Chick-fil-A in, Topeka, Kansas, or Minnesota, whatever. Whichever one you go to, they're all the exact same. The food at every location tastes the same. The service is great at every location. Like, Chick-fil-A is the epitome of consistency. That's what Joe Flacco has to be. Just be consistent. Convert 3rd and 4, right? Keep, the offense in 3rd and manageable situations and then make the right read. If he comes out playing like McDonald's where he's all over the place, then the Colts are going to get in trouble, right? And they're going to drop to 2-3 against a team that they should beat. This is a team that they should beat, right? They don't have to score 35 points to win this game. If they can break 20, then I love their chances to win on Sunday. And if Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback, that's only going to happen if he can avoid the turnovers. Okay, if he can avoid them, then they should be able to work the football into position to score. Matt Gay, need him to hit some kicks. All right, no Josh Hines-Allen or Devin Lloyd for the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2 important pieces of their defense. Like, the Colts should be able to consistently move the football, whether it's Flacco or Anthony Richardson at quarterback. The only thing that gets in the way of them winning this game is if they turn the football over. That cannot happen. Okay, when it comes to the idea of it being Joe Flacco or, Anthony Richardson being the starting quarterback, it's probably going to be Anthony Richardson based off of what he said yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. We never had any doubt about, me coming back. It was really just up to me how my body feels. So, like I said, just taking it day by day.
Up to how his body feels, but as of right now, it seems like the plan is for Anthony Richardson to play on Sunday based off of that quote that he just had right there, right? Hopefully he does. I think he gives the Colts the best chance to win, gives them the most room for error. Either way, I don't mind Joe Flacco. He's a good, solid backup. He's the second best backup quarterback in the NFL behind Jake Browning, the guy who backs up Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Okay, he's a viable option, Joe Flacco is, at the quarterback position. But Anthony Richardson's the future. Anthony Richardson's the better player. Okay, I think Joe Flacco has done a good job this year of doing his job, right? Helping Anthony Richardson where he needs it and being ready to play if Richardson gets hurt. Okay, like he was perfect last week. He came in, he didn't give the game away, right? He scored when he needed to, right? And, he did his job, right? And, just speaking to him being a good backup, like he doesn't worry you when he comes into games. Okay, like if you're a Broncos fan and Bo Nix gets hurt and you see Zach Wilson run out there to take snaps, you feel like you're screwed. Like that's just the natural feeling that you have because we've all seen Zach Wilson play football. Whereas for Joe Flacco, I don't know about you, but when he came out, like I wasn't worried. I was like, yeah, like he can manage this game to a point where the Colts should be able to hold on and win. And they, barely held on. Thankfully, Justin Fields dropped a snap that put the Colts in a pretty advantageous, spot defensively. But either way, hopefully, Joe Flacco is able to do enough to win on Sunday if his number's called, because this win would be big for the Colts going forward. It'd be a 3-game win streak. Hey-oh, we'll take all of those that we can get. And more importantly, it would break this, 9-game losing streak in Jacksonville. I've got thoughts on that when we come back here in about